Occupying Till He Comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries.
Thank you, Brother David. On today's broadcast, David welcomes its God Thing Productions president, Doc Marquis, to talk about his new DVD, Illuminati Gods at the Olympics. Doc is a proliferous producer of enthralling video presentations equipping saints to be wary in these last days. Other DVDs are in process, but today, Brother David and Doc delve into the Olympics and an evil conspiracy linking them to the occult. Here now is Dr. David Snitker and Doc Marquis.
Thank you, Jerry. It is a great privilege to have Doc Marquis on the broadcast today to discuss his latest DVD set entitled Illuminati Gods at the Olympic Games. These two videos are approximately 4 hours in length. This video is part 14 in the Secrets of the Illuminati series. And no one is better qualified to speak about the secrets of the Illuminati than Doc Marquis, as he was raised in the international occult group known as the Illuminati. During his youth, he was trained as an Illuminist and attained the rank of Master Witch, that is, a third-level Illuminati witch. As a result of God's grace and mercy, Doc became surrounded by Christians who presented him with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Confronted by God's word and the message of salvation by grace through faith, on April 15, 1979, Doc became a born-again Christian, forever severing his ties with the Illuminati. After graduating from Bible college, Doc has devoted his entire life to traveling across the country and using public forums to expose and educate the public on the occult. Doc speaks at seminars, conventions, conferences, churches, colleges, and university. He's also involved in training therapists, clinicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, local and state police, as well as members of the FBI on occult-related issues. Doc Marquis has appeared on several national television shows through the years, such as 2020, The Oprah Winfrey Show, Geraldo Rivera, Hard Copy, Inside Edition, Unsolved Mysteries, as well as myriads of radio and television talk shows through the years. I think his signature accomplishment is the production of over a dozen feature-length documentary films on the secrets of the Illuminati. And this film is the latest in the series. Well, Doc, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, David. How have you been doing?
Been doing very well. It's good to have you today by long distance from the state of Nebraska. As I viewed your videos, very interesting. And the first question that comes to me is that most people probably, when they think of the Olympic Games, they don't generally think of the Olympic Games as having an Illuminati connection. Why did you decide to produce these documentary films on the Illuminati gods at the Olympic Games?
Well, one of the main reasons I did it was obviously to educate the people into the truth of what's really going on. We have to be honest here. In way too many areas of our lives, we just accept things at face value. A lot of times we don't even think about these things because we've been conditioned to just, gloss over these things when we look at them. People are not seeing that Bible prophecy is play in front of their eyes. And it's up to the Christians, whether it be a ministry, a church, a concerned interest group, what have you, to put the whole truth out there about what's going on so, Lord willing, others will get saved.
So you have seen, as you did your documentary research, you have seen things that most people don't even notice, do they?
Well, let me ask you this question, just to illustrate the point here. To answer your question, when you think of the Olympic Games, most people would normally think of, the sporting events. But you and I both know that's encased by two other events, the opening ceremony to the Olympic Games and the closing ceremony. Now, when you think of those events, David, what comes to mind to you?
Well, you think of, pageantry, color, music, spectacle, and I might also say probably from the point of view of the number of people who tune in, probably those opening and closing ceremonies are seen probably by more people than actually watch the individual events.
Exactly, and that's what most people would think. Now, can you name off the top of your head some of the elements that compose the opening and the closing ceremony?
Well, generally, you think of the carrying of the torch, as it makes its way from, I guess, Athens, somewhere in Greece. The torchbearer that comes in, ascends some stairs in a very grandiose way, and then lights the Olympic torch. That seems to be one of the regular features of the modern day Olympics.
Right, that's one of the biggies. Anything else come to mind?
Well, there's generally a lot of people, entertainers that are dancing and doing things. Well, of course, I should also say the parade of athletes is generally a feature of the opening and closing ceremonies, where you have the athletes from all the different nations represented, right, and they are marching in, and around the arena as part of the opening and closing ceremonies.
Well, do you know, in the original Olympic Games, those elements you just mentioned, and most of the ones we have nowadays, never existed. They were never part of the original Olympic Games, which started back in the 8th century BC, and even in the revised version, if you want to call it the modern-day rendition of the modern Olympic Games, in 1896 when they came back, none of those elements were in it. The only time any of the elements that make up the Olympic Games, the opening and the closing ceremonies, they first appeared in 1936 in Berlin, Germany, at their games under the auspices of Adolf Hitler.
That is an amazing thing. Probably most people, when they tune into the Olympics, every 4 years, the Summer Olympics, probably assume that these features were present going all the way back to 1896 with the revival of the modern Olympic movement. Well, what was it, Doc, that you think caused the Olympics to kind of take a different flavor in terms of the opening and closing ceremonies back in 1936? Now, were those Olympics in Berlin? I wasn't.
The ones in 1936 were held in Berlin, Germany, under Adolf Hitler.
Okay, so that was, of course, the capital of Germany at the time.
At the time, yes. Yeah. Now, when I was in the Illuminati, I picked up a lot of information about one of the greatest puppets of the Illuminati, and that was Adolf Hitler. And it was during the Olympic Games ceremony that Adolf Hitler, under orders from the Illuminati, added occult elements to the Olympic Games. The most noted and obvious feature of the Olympic Games, as you pointed out, is the marathon runner, the person who will bring the torch from Olympia, Greece, where the games originally began, in theory, back in 776 BC. And it would be from there that the torch would be carried throughout various parts of Greece, and especially to Athens, and then eventually, throughout a series of relay runners, they would bring the torch to whatever country or nation is hosting the game that year. But that entire ceremony in which the Olympic torch is lit is actually an occult ceremony that's dedicated to the ancient Greek gods.
Let's unpack that a little bit more. Most people seeing don't observe what they're seeing. All that I would notice would be you have a succession of runners who pass the torch from person to person over the route, from Greece to the site of the Olympics, and it looks very benign at the surface. So what is it about that passing of the torch in the marathon that has an occult background?
Well, in order for the Olympic torch to be lit, you have to go back to the ancient temple of Hera. And this is what Adolf Hitler first did when the Berlin Games were being hosted by his country. There was, and it still goes on to this very day, mind you. What I'm about to describe, these are fixtures, occult fixtures, in the Olympic Games now. You can't separate them. But they went back to the ancient temple of Hera in Greece, and a lady, a priestess, who led the temple virgins of Hera, conducted an ancient ritual through dancing and other things to honor and invoke the ancient gods. Now, towards the end of that ceremony, the priestess had called upon the ancient god Apollo himself, after which the Olympic torch was lit, and then after another occult ceremony, she took that torch, she lit the torch of the Olympic Games, and the marathon race would begin. Now, what most people don't see, remember, this is an occult ceremony. This is a perfect replica of when Prometheus stole fire from the ancient gods and gave it to his creation, mankind, who, according to the ancient stories, he made from the clay of the earth. Now, this is completely contradictory to God, because they're saying in their occult world, it was one of their gods that passed knowledge in the hidden knowledge of the occult world and wisdom through that torch. That's a symbol of the ancient knowledge and such. Passed it to mankind, and if you noted, someone else got credit also for creating man out of clay instead of God.
So it's a totally pagan misrepresentation of the truth of the creation account, where the one and only true God creates man out of nothing. These are pagan gods that are involved in the creation of mankind.
Oh, yes. They're all pagan, obviously, and it's just not Apollo that's been invoked. I mean, we have to remember that we have the representative of Hera, who was the wife of Zeus, who was the head of the ancient Greek pantheon. And also, if you remember, if you ever seen this during the Olympic Games, they call upon the Olympic gods, these spirits, to watch over the Olympic Games. Do you know what those gods are called in the Greek language?
No, I don't.
They're called Nikes.
Nikes?
Yes.
That sounds like a tennis shoe brand.
Exactly. You see, it was during the 1996 games, I believe it was that game in particular, in which they were basically, if you, like, you know, these big sporting events, you know how they always have these commercial breaks and they're pushing their brand of whatever?
Yes.
I believe it was during the 1996 game, it could have been a little further up, in which, literally speaking, just about the only person who was advertising any commercials during those games were Nike itself.
Well, how about that? So they basically play upon this pagan mythology to promote their products, you know, Nike products during the Olympics, which of course is the most natural time to be promoting Nike products is during Olympic events. So it all ties in together, the commercialism as well as the paganism.
Exactly. The stories line up, especially if you were ever in the occult, one branch of the school or the another. You know, as I stated, I was in the Illuminati. I know all the elements which Adolf Hitler was instructed to incorporate into the Olympic Games.
So he was a willing puppet. I know he came from an occult background, and some would say that he even was a descendant of an Illuminist in the Rothschild family. Came out of a very, how should we say, unspectacular background, a peasant family, and rose to this height of power seemingly out of nowhere. Could you share just briefly a little bit about Hitler's occult background?
Well, Hitler himself was a great advocate of there was three main occult schools, if you would, under his leadership. One was the Thule Society, second one was the Vril Society, and obviously the third was that of the Illuminati. When we look at, just some of the ancient, if we look at just some of the old newsreels of Germany under Hitler, we will find out that they held these huge parades and such to glorify and promote Nazism and obviously the Aryan race. You will find that these parades were heavily laden with various occult themes, supposedly their rise from the ancient Teutonic races, such as the Norse mythology of Thor, Odin, and all of them. And when you look at the belief system of the Vril and Thule Society, you will find out that they were definitely heavily into their brand of paganism, because it was, I believe it was the Vril, it was the Thule Society that actually believed the ancient Aryan race descended from another ancient race way off in space from an ancient civilization.
Really wild mythology and paganism. Well, let's fast forward, Doc. Of course, we know, that militarily Nazism was defeated in 1945. But it's interesting, as you bring out in your video, that the extension and even expansion of Illuminati and pagan symbolism transported across the pond, so to speak, to the 1996 American Olympics held in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us about some of the Illuminati symbolism that was transported to Atlanta in 1996.
Well, it was Adolf Hitler who set up and created what we first call the Olympic Bowl, in which the final marathon race runner would take the Olympic torch and set it in the bowl, and it would light up. Well, during the 1996 one, a new element had been added. Well, you had the Olympic bowl, but it was no longer a bowl. If you look at it carefully, it's a spiraling bowl, if you want to call it that. But even the announcers who were televising this event, they even refer to it now as the Olympic cauldron.
That sounds very pagan and witchcraft oriented, this cauldron idea.
Well, it is, because in occult practices, it's always been in the cauldrons that whatever potions were being made were done there. That comes from the occult. What's very interesting about this particular time when the Olympic Games had gone on, they were using very specific occult symbols. One was a crescent moon, that had that amorphous creature in it that was called Ziggy. That crescent moon had 3 stars at the bottom. That is the perfect symbol, and I mean down to the letter, of a third-level witch in witchcraft. If you look at the actual logo itself, the official one for the Atlanta game, the 1996 one, you will see it sort of like almost like an aquamarine green. You'll see the handle of the torch, and you'll see a very unusual design that's supposed to represent flames. And coming out of those flames are three stars. Well, if you look right below the first star at the flame, it's actually a crescent moon. Again, you have the crescent moon with the three stars, which denotes a master witch in witchcraft.
So very subtle. For those who are not initiated, they would miss it altogether, but yet it would, I would think, over time begin to change a person's mindset or worldview and tilt it in the direction of paganism.
Well, yes, and you see, the crescent moon has always been the most ancient of all symbols for the original co-founder of witchcraft, and that was Semiramis. Now, if there is a pentacle or a five-pointed star with a circle, which would make it a pentagram involved, then that would mean it also involved the second co-founder of the occult world, and that was Semiramis' son, known as Nimrod. And if you look at the actual symbol for the Atlanta 1996 Olympic Games, their bid had a logo on it, and it was a five-pointed star with a circle.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, let's move forward another 4 years to the 2000 Olympic Games that occurred in Sydney, Australia. Share about some of the Illuminati symbols that were evident there at the Sydney Games.
Sydney, Australia was inundated with Illuminati symbolism and such. If we just look at the actual logo itself, it looked like there was a runner on a sort of like purple, bluish background, and the runner's leg was made out of a boomerang, obviously, representing Australia. But if you look above the runner's head, you will find out that what appears to be a squiggle at first, unless you look at it, is actually the serpent symbol. The serpent symbol has always, historically speaking, denoted Satan.
Right, going all the way back to the Garden of Eden.
Right. And during the opening ceremony of the Sydney Games, a young girl is put into a dream state by one of the shamans, if you would, of the Aborigine tribes. And while in this dream state, this girl sees, among other things, these people performing a very mysterious dance, to where at the end of that dance, they actually form the Eye of Lucifer.
Wow. So it's really in our face, isn't it?
It's so obvious, but people aren't seeing this. And as the games continue in that particular Olympic year, you will also find out that a dragon figure is used during. Now, what is one of the other common symbols for Lucifer, if you would?
Well, a dragon.
Exactly. And so here we have the serpent and the dragon representation with the of Lucifer. Plus, as you go throughout the game, you will also find out that, again, the five-pointed star has been used, and during the opening ceremony, there was an interesting banner that they had used which said "Good Day" on it. That's how the Australians would say good day or good morning. They say good day.
Right.
If you look at the outline of good day, it's another eye of Lucifer.
Wow. So the symbolism is just really multiplying as we move forward, with each successive Olympic Games. We have about 45 seconds left. Let me ask a final question. Why do you think the Illuminati is using the modern Olympic Games to what do you think their purpose is in putting all of this occult symbolism before the masses of people?
It's a conditioning process. I can't get into it right now, but basically it's a conditioning process to where at the end, when it's time for the Illuminati to set up their new world order as prophesied in the scripture, people will be so conditioned at that point that there's going to be very little, if no resistance at all.
That makes total sense to me. In other words, this is mass conditioning at what is undoubtedly the most widely viewed event in the world every 4 years. I'm sure that the number of people who watch these opening and closing ceremonies number into the billions. So
yes.
it makes perfect sense that this would be their opportunity to really adjust the mindset and condition people in the direction of occultism and paganism. Well, Doc, it's been a fascinating discussion. Time has flown, but thank you for being on the broadcast today.
Thank you for having me, David.
We've been speaking today with Doc Marquis concerning his brand new 2-part DVD entitled Illuminati Gods at the Olympic Games. These are 2 DVDs, approximately 4 hours in length, packed with factual information about how the Illuminati is using the Olympics to indoctrinate hundreds of millions of people into occult symbolism and the Illuminist worldview. You will want to have these DVDs to share with your family and friends. And now Jerry will share how you can obtain a copy of Illuminati Gods at the Olympics.
Friends, you'll certainly want a copy of Doc Marquis' 2 DVD set titled Illuminati Gods at the Olympics. As the years have gone by, the popular Olympic Games have been telling a tale of darkness and foreboding. It's a scintillating tale in which, through the Illuminati, ancient gods are coming back. In the nearly 4-hour, 2 DVD set, Doc takes you back to the beginnings of the Olympic Games and to when Hitler included the occult into the 1936 Games. Doc then sweeps forward to the 1996 Games and the Illuminati's tale of the serpent god, and through a variety of occult practices and symbols proves that his return is imminent. It's a compelling, professionally produced video that forewarns you of the impending evil ramifications of that return. Don't miss getting your copy of Illuminati Gods at the Olympics. The informative 2 DVD set is available as our gift in appreciation of your $25 contribution. There are 2 ways to get it: the Internet and telephone. Website is SWPM.us or call 1-405-604-5975. The web address again is SWPM.us. Phone 1-405-604-5975. Contact us right away for your copy. Remember, our goal is to equip you to deal with the dangers Christians face in these last days. Illuminati Gods at the Olympics does just that. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us for the next weekend Southwest Prophecy Ministries broadcast on this station. Till then, we're occupying till he comes.